Hello friends! In this video, I will analyze the trajectory of this controversial character and raise some possible theses and hypotheses about his journey and goals in the saga. This video will have spoilers for the games Tactics Ogre Knight of Lodi's and Tactics Ogre Reborn, so if you don't want spoilers, what are you doing in a video as specific as this one? Just kidding, the old Astromancer is a joker today. Welcome to the channel. To understand this character's motivations, we need to go back to his origin, which is his first appearance in the series. In Knight of Lodi's, we are introduced to Lanselot Tartaros, a warrior of the Holy Lodician Empire. Alphonse is born from an aristocratic family in the Empire, being considered a high-class citizen by his origin. His father unfortunately passed away when he was still a child, and for that reason he has no vivid memories of him. Alphonse grows up and begins his military training at age 12. At the age of 14, due to his skill and determination, he is awarded the rank of knight. Around this time, his mother remarries another man, and for this reason Alphonse is forced to adopt his now stepfather's last name, which was lower. He had no respect for this man, and this caused problems with his mother. Now named Alphonse Lower, he is redirected by the Lodi's High Command to the Order of the Sacred Flame Battalion, being subordinate to its commander, as well as his personal friend, Victor Lanselot. Victor was the son of Bernard Lanselot, the Duke of Felis, an influential aristocrat from Lodi's who was sent as ambassador to new lands by the Empire to negotiate between the two nations. Bernard sends Victor to the island of Ovis on a mission, and Alphonse sees this as an opportunity to escape his family problems and also an opportunity to discover his destiny for himself without the help of friends, family, or status. So at the age of 15, we have the construction of a character who is in search of motivations, inspirations, and self-knowledge. With regard to personality, Alphonse is the typical naive character for his age and also inconsequential, which he disguises as a pretense of courage. He is also shown to be very faithful, as for example when he threw himself in front of the arrow that would hit Victor in the initial fight against the pirates. The meeting with Eleanor after his rescue from the coast serves as a trigger for the awakening of romantic feelings between the two, although very little developed in the game in my opinion. Even that they seem to have taken inspiration from Star Wars, with the bad romantic development of Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala in the 3 films of the new trilogy. Another very striking characteristic of Alphonse is his obedience to what he believes in at the moment. We see this early on, as Richter's subordinate and being responsible for one of the fronts attacking the fortress. With the deal made with Sybil for saving his life. Later, when he is confronted by Victor, Alphonse decides to follow his own intuition and refuses to continue with his commander but accepts to fulfill Sybil's order to look for the mermaids, even though he disagrees with the mission. Another personality point of his is his capacity for diplomacy, negotiation, and influence, shown in the way he handled the mermaid situation. During the game, he discovers that he was being deceived regarding the objective on the island. He is forced to kill one of his best friends to stop his manic desire to dominate the world. He refuses the fallen angel's temptation to have what he wants and finally sees his romantic interest disappear in front of him and sacrifice for his life. Summarizing Alphonse's journey so far, we have a faithful, obedient character with a strong sense of justice who has gone through difficult situations. So how did he go from that to that character that we see 23 years later in Reborn? Here I would like to open the discussion of theories, as there is this huge vacuum in the story that ends up having to be filled with little information. In my opinion, I see 3 possible ways for this character after the end of Night of Lodi's to justify the events. I will name these 3 theories as Law Path, Neutral Path, and Chaotic Path. Starting with the Lawful Path, this path will be characterized by Alphonse's obedience and loyalty to the Holy Lodician Empire. Knowing that Bernard Lazanti's troops were on their way to get him after the events of the game, he could just run anywhere and hide just like Sybil and Shivan did. But his loyalty to the Empire makes him go straight to Pope Sardian, despite all the dangers, so that the Church could guard the spear of Longicolnes and the Duke of Felis would be punished for hiding the existence of this object from the Empire. With this action, the Pope promotes him to a knight of his personal guard and renames him Lanselot Tartaros under his direct order to carry out missions. Later, the Pope orders Lancelot to do all the diplomatic manipulation within the Empire to coup the Senate and transfer all the power of the Holy Lodician Empire to Sardian. The justification for this, as told by Tartaros himself to Cashua, was that the Senate was a corrupt institution, full of corrupt people, and that taking control in this situation was necessary for the good of the Empire.
It was not by might alone that you rebelled in Lodis. You rallied under the banner of overthrowing a corrupt Senate and installed the just High Priest Sardian in its place.
Tartaros is successful in this task, and now with his commander as the maximum ruler, his battalion, the Dark Knights Loslorian, are promoted to celebrities in the Empire and feared around the world mainly for their methods and cruelty. This is the version of the story told by Tartaros, but a counterpoint to this version is said by Ozma and by Hobiram, who were part of the Dark Knights and saw the whole process happen. In the eyes of these 2 characters, Tartaros is a conspirator, along with Sardian, and the real ones responsible for the downfall of Lodis.
You slew the senators and our Lord Father, and you call me the rebel? You tricked those fool abbots into lapping up your envenomed words and made a marionette of the High Priest. Blind as I am, I can see how you led the people to war in the name of God. And you expect me to flee? You are an ogre of Lodis in the flesh, and I cannot suffer you to live.
You are a fool if you cannot see the good we have done for Lodis, the wrongs we have righted. The senators were a contagion upon the Republic. It was but one pace from death. Ours was a harsh legion, yes. But had we left our homeland to fester, the Balmacans and Zenobians would have rent her asunder and kept the pieces.
It's you who've betrayed the Empire. I am come to restore Loslorian, to turn it from the treacherous path Balsaphon embarked upon.
Who would be speaking the truth there? Tartaros is known for his diplomatic manipulation, so I think it's hard for him not to be making up his version of this story. But Ozma and Hobiram might not have been so well informed of the intricacies of the Empire's politics to justify their claims. What do you think about this? Leave it in the comments. Continuing, here we see Alphonse's change from good to evil and violent Tartaros. One of the reasons that may have made him adopt this stance may have been Eleanor's death, because if he had enough power he could have defeated Shar without her having to sacrifice herself. With that in mind, Tartaros becomes a creature who believes that power and strength are the most important things. Sardian manipulates him through his allegiance to Lodis, orders him to go secretly after the power of Dorgalua that was in the Valerian Islands, which was told by Brantum, and also to take control of the region through the search for the lost daughter of the ancient king. Tartaros travels with his party to Zenobia, faces Hamilton, loses his eye, steals the sword Brynhildr, and flees to Valeria. On the islands, Tartaros could have opened the Chaos Gate, but he decided to carry out the order to take control of the island. He orders a search for information on the lost heiress, and when he has information of her whereabouts in Galiet, he goes with all the Dark Knights in search of it. Although the idea of massacre was given by Balsaphon, Tartaros does not order otherwise, therefore he accepts deplorable acts as massacres as long as it is in the name of an objective of the Empire. Something that I always get the impression is that Tartaros is not the leader within the group, but rather a force to be feared within it, and for that reason the other knights follow his orders.
Hobram may see things differently than you and Balsaphon, but that is no reason to cast him aside. You talk about rescuing Lodis from rot, but how can you inspire revolution when you fail to inspire your own kin? I cannot see a future in the way you deceive and rule others with fear. Fear the Dark Knights Lothlorien have well earned. I am ashamed. I thought that by bloodying my hands, I might seize justice. But it was a lie.
A surprising thing for you to say, given all you've done. But if you insist on playing the winsome lass, play on. Only know this. I do not seek justice. No. Justice follows in my wake. Progress is bought with blood. Wait for revolution, and it will never come.
An example of this is the way of acting, with Balsaphon appearing to be the true commander in there, while Valak is the one who controls Brantum. Valak is also the one who is sent to capture Ozma after a revolt, in addition to the internal rebellion of Martum, Barbas, and Andoras, answered completely silently by Tartaros. I believe that after losing the sword and control of the island, Tartaros flees to Lodis to receive new orders from Sardian as his particular high champion. I don't believe he would be punished for the failure of his mission, but he would remain loyal to Sardian and would likely be used as a pawn in a new conflict against Valeria and Zenobia in the future. This would be a possible lawful path for the character. Now it's time for the neutral path. In this hypothesis, Tartaros is not blindly faithful to Lodis and Sardian's orders, but rather presents much more characteristics and personality of his period as Alphonse. That is, his goal is the common good, the best possible course of action, thinking about people in general. On that route, Alphonse returns to Lodis carrying the Longicolni spear so that no evil person could have access to this relic and its power to destroy or dominate the world. He goes to Pope Sardian as he has seen the treachery that Bernard Lacentai, and even his best friend Rictor Lacentai, played against Lodis, seeking power for personal ends. The church being immune to these personal desires, as it followed the teachings of Lord Lodis and Filler himself, would be the safest place for the world to keep such a weapon. Once there, he accepts promotion as champion of the Pope, Lanselot Tartaros, as a way to continue protecting the world his beloved Eleanor sacrificed for and the promise he had made to Rictor. Seeing the corruption that Lodis suffered from its politicians and aristocrats, he helped Sardian to carry out the coup and end those who were harming the empire with their personal goals. Tartaros in this scenario understands that violence is necessary to achieve the greater good, and that force is the power that moves the world and people. Sardian is successful and becomes supreme ruler of Lodis, with Tartaros as his right-hand man. The rest of the story plays out more or less the same, where Tartaros is sent to Valeria to seek power from Dorgalua and take control of the island for the Empire. He goes to Zenobia, confronts Hamilton, loses his eye, steals the sword, and flees to Valeria. There, he decides to look for the former king's heiress so that he could pacify the local governments by using her as a puppet of Lodis. This would be the most peaceful way to take control of the region while ending the three-clan war.
You used the Zenobian sword Brynhilda to break the seal on the gate.
Ah, Princess Versalia, you grace us with your presence.
If you did not need me to break the seal, why go to such lengths to win me to your side?
The High Champion must have known the sword was all we needed. He meant to use you to rule these pathetic isles. A waste, when Lodician steel would serve.
Small wonder Lord Tartaros would not keep counsel with you. You are too foolish to see his true purpose.
What is this true purpose you speak of?
You may rule people with the sword, but you will never win their hearts. Lord Tartaros understood this. It was not...
With that greater good in mind, he legitimizes the massacre at Galiat for the greater good. Cashua is manipulated and joins the Dark Knights. In this scenario, Tartaros did not go directly to the Chaos Gate as he knew that the powers of the sky and the abyss were not meant for humans. Last time he messed with it, he lost his best friend and his love interest. Then he lies to his group mates that it was necessary to find the heir to the throne to open the Chaos Gate, which was a lie, as the sword alone was capable of that. He was protecting the world by preventing the portal from opening. This attitude caused Martim, Barbas, and Endorus to rebel over the delay, accusing him of wanting to use the power for himself, an allegation that was neither confirmed nor rejected. On this path, Tartaros returns to Lodi satisfied, seeing that the island of Valeria would have unity and strength with the new queen in power, while the powers of the abyss would not be released and used again against humanity. This would be a possible neutral path for the character. Now let's move on to my favorite theory, which I'll call the chaotic path. In that case, Tartaros is not blindly loyal to Lodi's and Sardian's orders, nor to the general welfare of the people as shown in the first game. In this theory, Alphonse is broken and corrupted at the end of Night of Lodi's. Upon seeing the evils that men can commit in pursuit of power, losing his best friend and his romantic interest because of his personal weakness, he begins to be corrupted by the ideals of the Angel Shire, and an example of this is that he kept the sword who was in the pose of the angel with him throughout the entire saga. What if that sword wasn't just an ordinary sword? What if her name didn't just refer to a king, but to a characteristic? What if the ambition sword had awakened exactly that trait in Alphonse? With that thesis in mind, let's continue the story. Alphonse begins to create his plans to gain power and therefore takes the Longicolni spear to Sardian and Lodi's, as he knew that with this he would gain his trust immediately. Renamed as his champion, the now Lanselot Tartaros assembles his private group with the lowest moral knights in the entire empire, as he knew he could trust them to take extreme and immoral measures if necessary for his goals. Thus was born the Dark Knights Laslorian. Disturbed by the democratic way politics was handled in the Empire, he plots a coup to put Sardian in charge and increase the prestige of the Dark Knights. Tartaros conspires in the shadows and manipulates people until the coup succeeds.
I need no eyes to know who stands before me, Tartaros.
Hoberum, the finest swordsman Laslorian ever produced. I'm glad the loss of your sight has not diminished your skill. Our convictions may have been at odds, but I was sorry to lose you all the same.
At odds or not, I was dismayed by your little purge. It is the act of a blunt instrument. Yes, the nobles write laws to fatten their bellies, all the while telling the people all they did is for them. The very picture of corruption. But this, to change so much so quickly, invites suffering.
There was no other way. We sound well when we speak of a republic, but look at the commons. They are sluggards, dull to an extreme. They are moved to support only that which benefits their fortunes, comfort, or offspring, and nothing requiring sacrifice. Or should we blame the few ignoble nobility who seek to profit from this sorry state of affairs? Hardly. I ask you, who chooses the senators? Who commits laws to parchment? Corruption does not flow downstream. It is a rot that rises from the barrel's bottom. The mob ruled Lodus, and the mob leans not towards self-betterment. Our uprising showed them that change had come, but more importantly, it taught them where to kneel.
And so you took not only their freedom, but any hope they could imagine a better world with it. How can you raise a people's station in life when you crush them beneath your boots?
Now Tartaros and the Dark Knights Lothlorien were the most feared elite group across all lands. With Sardian in power, Lodis is contacted by Brentum of the Valerian Islands, who talks about the power of Dorgalua and the lost heiress of that king he knew of the location. Tartaros learns of this information and becomes obsessed with it. He discovers that there was a chaos gate in the place and sees this as an opportunity, as these places can open a passage either to the abyss or to the sky. Maybe it was an opportunity to rescue Eleanor? Tartaros quickly advances with his group towards Zenobia in search of the sword Brynhild that would be able to open the Chaos Gate. There, he faces Hamilton, is wounded in his eye by the Paladin, but is successful and escapes to Valeria. Arriving on the island, he orders a search for the princess, both to mislead his colleagues from his true intentions and to gain control of the island through the rightful heiress.
Perhaps I should kill her now. The turmoil would only make it easier to assail these wretched islands.
Knowing that she might be in Galiet, he orders all the Knights of Lodis to advance at dawn. Arriving in the village, he realizes that it was snowing, and this reminds him of Eleanor.
Snow?
Odd to see snow fall in these parts. I had heard the weather here was clement.
Another clue that something could be influencing the old Alphonse is this right here. Look at that animal. No other horse in the series is portrayed in the slightest like anything like this. All other horses shown so far are normal. Why is only the horse of Tartaros so distinctive, almost diabolical? This beast does not appear anywhere else during the game, only in the opening cutscene. It might just be an artistic choice, but what if it's a clue? Could this horse be another form of Shire? It's still great material for theories, don't you think? Another interesting detail that could corroborate this theory is the final fight in Coda 4 in Tactics Ogre Reborn. Tartaros is the only one who recognizes that there is something wrong with the whole situation over there. He is able to deduce that Danum belonged to another timeline.
You're not from this spoke on the wheel, are you, boy? This history is written, but in another tale. Victory may yet be ours.
How did he have this knowledge? At no other point in the saga does any character even mention the possibility of time travel, parallel lines, or parallel universes. This knowledge was perhaps exclusive to only deities, including the angel Shire. Remembering that it is shown in Knight of Lodis that Shire has the power to possess people even in his weakened form. Maybe in heaven, with all his power, he can influence on earth. Continuing the story, it happens normally from here. The massacre in Galiet, the search for Cashua, the ceremony of disclosing the heiress to the whole island. All are planned by Tartaros to outwit what he was looking for. Unfortunately for him, there is an internal revolt in his group that he ends up trapped in. Seeing that his plan to reunite with Eleanor has been derailed, he remains silent, thinking about his next steps. Tartaros, Volek, and Balxaphon escape and return to Lodis. Tartaros could now continue looking for ways to find Eleanor through other chaos gates or mystical items, or let his ambition take over, killing Sardian and taking control of Lodis. With the entire empire under his control, he could start a war against Zenobia to get back the sword Brynhilde, for example. Remembering that Hobiram and Ozma are also returning to Lodis, would they be able to stop the plans of the 3 remaining Dark Knights?
So you'll be returning to Lodis then?
Lanselot and Balxaphon escaped. I'll chase them to the ends of the earth, should it come to that.
I know quite well the dangers of returning to Lodis, yet with such a partner, I am not concerned for our safety. Lodis should not be left to rot, but what Tartaros and his lot desire is rule, absolute rule. Once I swore to follow Tartaros, but I see him now for the traitor he is. He must be hewn down if there is to be true revolution. My eyes are open.
Maybe someday we will have answers to these questions. Tartaros is an enigmatic character, and perhaps the true lore is a mixture of all points in this video. Which of these hypotheses do you think makes the most sense? Do you have any different interpretations of this character's story? Leave it in the comment below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and see you next time with more videos from the Ogre Battle Saga.